Okay, so starting with the 6-3 stuff. The beautiful thing is, remember 6-3 was the converses of 6-2. So the quiz that you took, all of that information, these look really similar. It's just a matter of how they worded the question is different. So instead of saying this is a parallelogram, find x and y, now they're saying find x and y that would make this a parallelogram. But you do the exact same thing, okay? So for number 1, if this needs to be a parallelogram, what do we need to be true? What needs to happen?
180?
What would be 180?
The sides.
The angles on each side, right? The consecutive angles. So here's your options. You can either add these together and set them equal to 180, or you can set the ones across from each other equal to each other. If you set the ones across from each other, you have an x and a y. So I recommend doing the consecutives because then you have the same variable. No, why? Are you going to work together?
Yes,
Then go
yeah.
sit in the back corner away from everyone else.
I thought you were like, okay.
No, if you two want to work together and do this on your own, by all means, go right ahead. Okay, so you have 2y plus 4y equals 180. So 6y equals 180. And then you would just divide by 6. So y is what? What's 180 divided by 6? 30, right? So y is going to be 30. So then how do you set it up for x?
Plug it in.
Plug what in?
30.
You're 30. Okay, so that's one thing that you could do that might make this a little simpler. If you plug in 30 for y, look right here. If we plug that in here, 2 times y is 30. That means this angle is 60. So then what's x? 60, okay? I like that way. That's a beautiful idea, Cadence. If you didn't see that, then you could have taken these two and done what with them? What do you mean plug it in? Like, what are you doing with it? What do you know about those angles?
You set them equal to 180.
Equal to 180. So you could have said 5x plus x minus 180. So 6x minus 180 equals 180. You could have done it that way, yes. And then that would be 6x equals 360, divide by 6, so x is 60. So either way, you're going to get the right answer. It's just a matter of how much work do you want to do, or which way does your brain see it.
So if this says x and y, we have to solve for both, even though like if we solve for one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think I ever give you 2 variables on a problem like this where they're kind of separate of each other. But yeah, you should find all the missing pieces. Okay, look at example 2 here. Now this is talking segments. So this is x, this is 2y, this is 5x minus 4, and this is 2x plus 14. This is a parallelogram. What do you know about the diagonals in a parallelogram? What are congruent?
What do I think number 2 is?
The 2 that are on the same segment. Hey, if you're going to work together, you need to whisper so the rest of us don't have to listen to your talking.
I'm sorry.
So we know these 2 are congruent and we know these 2 are congruent. Does it make more sense to do the green ones or the purple ones first?
Both green.
Sorry, the line that I drew here. We'll make these purple.
Purple.
The purple, why?
They're bigger.
They're bigger.
Not because they're bigger.
It looks simple.
The green has an X and a Y. The purple has an X and an X. If you can do one variable, that's where you want to be, right? So we're going to say 2x plus 14 equals 5x minus 4 because the diagonals bisect, so they have to be congruent parts, okay? Then from here, you will just solve. So take away 2x on both sides. Add 4 to both sides. So you get 3x equals 18, so x is what? Divide by 3.
6.
X would be 6. Okay, so now go back up to the picture. If I know X is 6, how do I solve for Y?
Plug it in.
Plug it in where?
To the
We're
X's.
working together.
To the X's. So right here, right? If this is 6, then I know 6 is equal to what?
2.
2Y. And if 6 is equal to 2Y, then I divide by 2, and Y will be 3. Okay. All right, look at number 3. Again, what would the values of X and Y have to be to make this a parallelogram? That's the question they're asking. What do you know about the sides of a parallelogram? They're not all equal. A rhombus would be all equal. This is just a parallelogram in general. What are equal? Not the opposite sides, right? So we're going to set these two equal, and we're going to set these two equal, okay? So the one is going to be 4x equals 3x plus 5. That one's lovely to solve because it's very simple. Take away a 3x and you get x equals 5. Okay, so that's solving for your x's. What do you do to solve for your y's?
Plug it in.
No, we don't have to plug something in because our y's don't involve
You
the
do
x.
Same thing, but with the y. So.
Right, you set them equal, right? Y plus 3 would have to equal 2y minus 1. You writing it down, Max? So take away the y here, and you get a y. Add the 1, and you get a 4. So y would equal 4. Do you know how you could check those?
You
Plug them back
it into
in.
both
If you
sides.
plug it in right here, 4 plus 3 is 7. 2 times 4 is 8 minus 1, which is 7. So those come out to the same value, then you know you got it right. Okay? So if you're not sure, plug it in and double check it. Any questions on those 3? So it's a whole lot of setting things equal, right? The diagonals you set equal, or the pieces of the diagonals. The opposite sides you set equal. The opposite angles you set equal. Consecutive angles you set supplementary. What's supplementary?
The sides.
Supplementary. What? 180, right? Angles that add up to 180. Okay, these next 3 here says, can you prove this is a parallelogram based on the given information?
Yes.
Remember we learned several theorems that said, I know this is a parallelogram because of this. Truett.
What's a parallelogram?
It's a quadrilateral, so 4-sided figure, where opposite sides are parallel.
That's what
Okay, so
Yes.
can we prove that opposite sides are parallel here?
I think yes.
Why do you think yes?
Because there's lines that show that they're equal on
But
the
not the
opposite.
opposite side. Yes, they
They are
Right,
the opposite sides.
but no, those are diagonals. Those aren't the opposite sides, right? Those aren't the opposite sides. But
You're right.
listen, no, you're right. You're just using the wrong justification for it. This is a parallelogram because what do we know about the diagonals of a parallelogram?
The right side.
They bisect each other, right? So because these are marked congruent and because these are marked congruent, we can say, yes, this is a parallelogram because diagonals bisect each other. Okay, so we know that is a parallelogram because of the markings on their diagonals. If the diagonals cut each other into equal parts, it's a parallelogram.
Do we get to keep this?
Mm-hmm.
Are you grading it?
You're going to submit a picture for me, yeah. Okay, number 5. Is that a parallelogram?
Yes. 'Cause
Why?
the Opposite
Opposite
sides.
sides.
I was gonna say equal.
Mhm.
I
This
was
is
gonna
yes
say that.
because
Say that too. I was also.
opposite sides are congruent.
Sorry.
Okay. How about number 6?
No.
No, it doesn't show. It doesn't show. The
No.
top and the bottom aren't congruent.
But if you look back to your notes, we learned
Yes.
5 ways,
No.
right? One of the things that we said is true is if one pair of sides is parallel and congruent, it has to be a parallelogram. So this is actually a yes. Yes, because one pair of opposite sides, you say one pair is, right? Not one pair are. One pair is parallel and congruent. Okay? That's probably the toughest one because it's just not the one that we've been talking about the most, right? Okay, now we're going to determine on 6-4 stuff the most specific name that we can give this. So I'm telling you this is a parallelogram, so you don't need all the markings for a parallelogram. I want to know, is it a rhombus, a rectangle, or a square based on what you see?
That's right.
Okay, number 1 is a rectangle.
Wait, Miss Verhoeven.
Did we get a new milk company?
Who's
Oh my
Clearbrook?
gosh.
Clearbrook Farms is the same. Is he driving a different truck?
Look, it says Clearbrook. It's
No,
on the
I
same
think it's
got
different
milk.
guy.
Yeah, it's the same company.
That's the same dude.
It's all
Are they gonna
Clear-
start-
Clearbrook is a like sub company of Rockview.
Are they only gonna start driving that truck now?
I don't know.
My
Maybe he got a
Monday's
new
ruined.
one.
My
Maybe he got a new
Monday's
truck.
ruined now.
Night ruined.
My whole Monday.
Um,
I was having a good day until that. Now I don't.
I'm gonna have to tell Kent that you guys ruined his day. That he ruined you guys' day. So this is a rectangle, but why is it a rectangle?
Because like it's not equal size. The one sides are like longer.
Okay, but what makes something a rectangle?
Because they're not all equal size.
It doesn't, the sides don't matter for a rectangle. What matters in a rectangle? 4 right angles, right? If you have 4 right angles,
My man is coming out of the
it is a rectangle.
Yeah, but the square also has 4 right.
But a square is a rectangle,
And my cactus.
right?
I just prayed for it. I was
Mhm.
gonna be quiet. I was gonna be
Why?
quiet.
Why is this my rectangle? I'm gonna make
Okay,
it so
good question. Hey,
painted.
you're gonna hear this a ton in your life. This is like the thing that gets talked about in parallelograms. Why is a square a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square? Now, it's not always true that a rectangle is not a square, because a rectangle can be a square, but a square has to be a rectangle. A rectangle does not have to be a square.
Because a square is a type of rectangle, but a rectangle is not a type of square.
Right.
It's not.
So here's how it works. Look at number 2 here, right? This is 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. That is a square, right? It's also a rectangle because what is a rectangle? 4 right angles. So this is a type of rectangle. Now look at this one. That is a rectangle. Is it also a square? No, because it doesn't have the 4 congruent sides. So it's kind of like this trickle down. Like if it's a square, it has to be a rectangle also, and it has to be a parallelogram, and it has to be a quadrilateral. But if it's a rectangle, it doesn't have to jump up to square, but it has to be a parallelogram and a quadrilateral, right? So it's kind of like an added feature to it. True it.
So if we put a rectangle for the square, would it still be right?
No.
You would get partial credit because it is in fact a rectangle, but you always want to give the most specific name. And square is the most specific
Why are the flags half stand?
I literally
Because of the mass shooting.
because of the mass shooting.
What mass shooting?
It happened in Monterey Park, I think, but then the guy ended up in Torrance. That's where they found him. He was like a 72, 74-year-old man. He didn't look like he could hurt.
Like 10 people
a
and he,
fly.
Like, himself.
He shot a lot of people. He killed 10,
He shot 20.
injured
killed.
10 more.
Dang.
And then he went to that happened at like a dance studio. And then he went to a different dance studio. And at that one, he didn't shoot anyone because they were able to get the gun away from him, but he somehow got away. I don't know. Why
Well,
what?
it's 'cause of the new
Why-
year.
It was part of,
Does he
Well-
hate dancers?
No, it was all like Chinese New Year. There was a huge celebration out there.
He's racist?
Well, no, he's an Asian man.
Oh.
Whoa.
So
I
why is
saw
that
these.
whoa?
He wants to take his wife.
But yeah, I haven't heard motive. I don't know what spurred it on, but
I'm actually something with that.
yeah, it's just sad, really sad. Anyway, okay, so this is what type of parallelogram? What's the most specific name you can give number 3? A rhombus. If all 4 sides are congruent, but we don't know anything about the angles, you say rhombus. I have no idea.
Your brother said you're Mexican.
Okay,
I'll look it up real quick.
no,
How do you do
we're
that?
done talking about that for right now. Okay, look at 4 and 5, because now we're going to distinguish between rhombus features and what?
Last week.
A rhombus.
That's a rectangle, right?
No, number 3. If all the sides are congruent, it's a rhombus. If all the angles are congruent, it's a rectangle. Right? So put the 2 together and you get a square.
Cool.
Okay, 4 is a rhombus. We've talked about this one a couple times now today. Think about what you know about a rhombus. We know opposite angles are congruent because it's a parallelogram. But yours are different?
Yeah,
What do you have?
hey,
Mine are like
hey, it's bigger than that one.
Yeah, it's not even like it's like
Oh.
Mexican.
Hold on.
All of ours is different.
Yeah, for number 4, it's not even like number
But
5
are these the only ones that are different?
I'm not-
Yeah,
No,
it's
number
just
5.
number 4.
Are you-
It's only number 4.
Nah.
No.
What are you, man?
Huh.
He's Indian.
What is it?
Live.
Well, here, I'm just going to draw a
Are
picture.
you Indian?
What does number 4 look like? Oops.
I support you, man.
Are you lying?
He's Indian, not Native American.
Oh, Indian, like.
From India.
Like Cherokee?
No.
Like from the
Like
country.
actual
Like-
Indian.
Not like Christopher Columbus made a mistake back then. Like actual Indian.
You're Indian.
No, I didn't actually.
Like, I
4, 6.
No, that's
He's not even
Like,
Indian.
what are you talking about? He's Asian.
Okay,
Dylan,
thank you. Oh my goodness, you guys have gone off the rails. Come back. So your number 4 looks like this, right? Okay. Hey, you're done talking about it. Talk about math with me, please. This is a rhombus. When you draw the diagonals in a rhombus, 2 things happen.
Let's go stuff.
What happens in the middle here?
90.
90 degrees. Hey, quit. You're just talking, and I've asked you multiple times to stop. So stop talking.
I was asking you a question.
No, you were.
So in a rhombus, these middle angles have to be 90 degrees, okay? That's one of the angle things you know about a rhombus, but there's one other angle thing you know. So we know angle 4
sides are congruent.
is 90. Well, that's a parallelogram, right? So we know those parallelogram things. But in a rhombus, we said opposite angles will bisect because of the diagonal, will be bisected. So that means all of these will be the same.
Bro.
And it means all of these will be the same. Right? Remember we said there's only 3 angle measures in a rhombus when you draw the diagonals in. So what is the measure of angle 2?
Uh, 90 degrees. No,
Not 90.
180.
68.
It's 68, right? These are congruent. So 2 is 68. What's 3?
90. No. 68.
68 also, right? All 4 of those are the same. 68, 68, this would be 68 also, and this one down here started as 68. So 2 and 3 are both 68 degrees. How do you find angle 1 then?
You subtract 68 and 90 from 180.
Yes. You have this triangle. You have a 90, a 68, and an angle 1, right? In that triangle, 68 plus 90 plus the measure of angle 1 has to equal 180, okay? So put this together, what is that, 158? So take away 158. So what's the measure of angle 1?
No, it's not. Wait, so why don't we do 68?
138.
Like, why don't we do both of them? Is it-
138?
Because we're just looking at this triangle, right? You have angle 1, the 90, and the 68.
So, 22?
That would be 22 degrees.
So I'll add. Oh, I added.
Shot his grandparents.
I added.
Okay.
And he like, yeah.
Questions on that?
No.
Okay, so look at this one. Still a rhombus. What do you know? Let's start with angle 2. What's the measure of angle 2?
90.
90.
Well,
It is a
2
rhombus.
392.
So 3 is 90 also. So you get the measure of angle 2
And the
is 90.
What time is it?
The measure of angle 3 is 90. Okay. So how do you find the measure of angle 1?
You don't.
You add 90 and 52 and subtract.
Right. 90
So
plus 52 plus the measure of angle 1
Equals.
has to make a triangle, right?
48,
This
so
triangle,
1 is 48.
38.
Oh, 38.
And then 4 is the same thing.
So take this away. This is 142. So take away 142. You get the measure of angle 1 is 38
And
degrees.
4 is 38 as well.
Right. So all 4 of these are the same. So if angle 1 is 38, then angle 4 is also 38.
Can you keep that there for a second?
You know, it's
Mhm.
a good job on words. Really? Yeah.
It looks so simple though.
I know. It's so like hard though, because I don't know, it's like so perfectly wrapped
how-
and everything.
It looks like
90 plus 90 is 180, so why?
Yeah, it took him like, he
How
said it's
are-
been extended.
But we're not adding the 90s together. Those are parts of different triangles, right? We're adding these 3 together to make a triangle. So 90, 52, and 1 have to add up to 180.
Can I go to the bathroom and fill my water? Or after the
Can you wait till we're done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
No, I think he was saying, can I go to the bathroom and can I fill up my water? Okay, last 2, and then we're done.
No, I lost that.
H-I-J-K,
And then
I don't know, I think I looked at it redundant.
L-M-N-O-P, yep. So this is a rectangle. It says find the value of x
Is that an equal?
and the length of each diagonal. So HJ, excuse me, HJ is here. Forrest, do you need to move?
No, I was checking
Okay,
the
lock it up. HJ is here, and they're telling us the length of that is 4x. IK is here, and the length of that is 7x minus 12. What do you do with that?
Set them equal.
You set them equal because the diagonals of a rectangle have to be equal, okay? So you say 4x equals 7x minus 12.
X equals 4.
So take away that 7x, and you get negative 3x equals negative 12, and then divide by negative 3. So x has to be 4, okay? You can always double check it. If you plug it in, that's 16. That's 16, so it makes sense,
X equals 4.
okay? So what do you do on number 7? HJ is x plus 40. IK is 5x.
Set them equal.
Set them equal. Same thing, right? X plus 40 should equal 5x. So take away that x, and you get 4x equals 40. And then divide by 4, and you get x is 10.
What?
Okay?
Yes.
Tomorrow, you are going to take a quiz over this information. If you have questions on it, make sure you ask. But that is your homework for today. So take a screenshot or scan. A scan would be lovely. And then submit, please.